In the grand tapestry of human history, the suppression of feminine spirituality is a dark thread that has woven its way through countless generations. This suppression has been systematic, pervasive, and deeply ingrained in the patriarchal structures that have dominated our societies. From the burning of witches in medieval Europe to the erasure of goddesses from religious texts, the feminine divine has been marginalized, demonized, and nearly extinguished. However, as we stand on the precipice of a new era, there is a palpable shift occurring. The sacred feminine is reawakening, and with it, a renewed sense of balance, healing, and empowerment is emerging. The historical suppression of feminine spirituality can be traced back to the rise of organized religions and centralized institutions that sought to consolidate power. These institutions often portrayed the feminine divine as dangerous or heretical, seeking to control and manipulate the narrative around spirituality. For instance, the Gnostic texts discovered at Nag Hammadi reveal a rich tradition of feminine spiritual figures that were excluded from the canonical Bible. These texts speak of a divine feminine principle, Sophia, who embodies wisdom and is integral to the spiritual journey. The suppression of such texts and the persecution of those who revered the feminine divine were not merely acts of religious intolerance but strategic moves to centralize spiritual authority. The modern revival of feminine spirituality is a testament to the resilience and enduring power of the sacred feminine. This revival is not merely a historical correction but a necessary evolution in our collective consciousness. As more people seek alternatives to the dogmatic and often oppressive structures of traditional religions, the feminine divine offers a path of inclusivity, intuition, and holistic healing. Practices such as Kundalini Yoga, which aims to awaken the spiritual energy within, have seen a resurgence. Kundalini, often depicted as a feminine energy, is described as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine, waiting to be awakened and rise through the chakras, bringing about profound spiritual transformation. The awakening of the sacred feminine within is not just a personal journey but a collective one. It is a call to action for all of us to recognize and honor the divine feminine in our lives and in the world around us. This means embracing qualities such as intuition, compassion, and nurturing, which have been traditionally undervalued in a patriarchal society. It also means challenging the structures and institutions that have sought to suppress these qualities. As we do so, we contribute to a more balanced and harmonious world, where the sacred feminine is not just acknowledged but celebrated. One of the most powerful aspects of the modern revival of feminine spirituality is its emphasis on personal empowerment and self-reliance. This revival encourages individuals to trust their inner wisdom and to seek their own path to spiritual fulfillment. It is a movement that values decentralization, rejecting the notion that spiritual authority should be centralized in any one institution or figure. Instead, it promotes the idea that each person has the capacity to connect with the divine within themselves, fostering a sense of personal liberty and autonomy. The revival of feminine spirituality also intersects with the growing interest in natural and holistic health practices. As people become more disillusioned with the mainstream medical industry, they are turning to alternative and complementary therapies that honor the body's innate wisdom and healing capacity. This shift is a reflection of the feminine principle, which values intuition, natural rhythms, and the interconnectedness of all life. It is a rejection of the reductionist and often exploitative practices of modern medicine, which has been complicit in the suppression of feminine spirituality. As we continue to awaken the sacred feminine within, we are not just reclaiming a lost aspect of our spiritual age. In the journey of awakening the sacred feminine within, intuition and emotional intelligence serve as the compass and map, guiding us through the labyrinth of our inner worlds. These innate faculties are not merely tools but sacred gifts that connect us to the divine essence of our being. As we cultivate these gifts, we step into the energy of the priestess, a woman who embodies wisdom, healing, and spiritual insight. This section explores the profound role of intuition and emotional intelligence in nurturing priestess energy, offering a path to reclaim our innate power and wisdom. Intuition is the whisper of the soul, a gentle yet persistent voice that speaks the language of truth. It is the ability to understand something immediately, without the need for conscious reasoning. In a world dominated by centralized institutions that often seek to control and manipulate, intuition becomes our sanctuary. It is our personal guide, free from the influence of external authorities. As we learn to trust and follow our intuition, we reclaim our sovereignty and align with our higher self. This alignment is crucial for the priestess, who must navigate the spiritual and physical realms with clarity and purpose. Emotional intelligence, on the other hand, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions and the emotions of others. It is the bridge that connects our inner world with the external environment. In a society that often suppresses emotional expression, cultivating emotional intelligence is a radical act of self-love and empowerment. It allows us to harness our emotions as sources of strength and insight, rather than viewing them as weaknesses to be concealed. For the priestess, emotional intelligence is a powerful tool for healing and transformation, both for herself and those she serves. The cultivation of intuition and emotional intelligence is not a linear process, but a spiral journey of continuous growth and self-discovery. It requires patience, practice, and a willingness to delve deep into the shadows of our psyche. One powerful practice is meditation, which quiets the mind and opens the heart, creating a sacred space for intuition to flourish. Through meditation, we learn to listen to the subtle messages of our soul and to trust the wisdom that arises from within. This practice is essential for the priestess, who must be attuned to the spiritual dimensions of life. Another vital practice is the use of aromatherapy and essential oils, which can enhance our emotional and spiritual well-being. As Valerie and Warwood notes in The Fragrant Heavens, certain fragrances can elevate our mood, calm our nerves, and open our hearts to deeper spiritual experiences. Incorporating these natural elements into our daily rituals can support the awakening of our priestess energy, helping us to stay grounded and connected to the earth's healing energies. This connection to nature is a cornerstone of the priestess path, as it reminds us of our intrinsic bond with all living things. The journey of cultivating priestess energy also involves embracing our shadow selves, the parts of us that we have disowned or suppressed. This process requires courage and compassion as we confront and integrate these aspects of our being. By doing so, we reclaim our wholeness and step into our full power. The priestess understands that true strength lies in vulnerability, and that healing is a continuous process of becoming. This understanding is beautifully articulated in The Path to Love by Deepak Chopra, who emphasizes the importance of self-acceptance and love in the journey of spiritual awakening. As we awaken the sacred feminine within, we are called to serve as healers and guides for others. This service is not about imposing our will or knowledge, but about holding space for others to find their own truth and healing. It is about creating a container of love and acceptance where transformation can occur. The priestess energy is inherently collaborative and community-oriented, seeking to uplift and empower those around her. In this way, we contribute to the collective awakening of humanity, fostering a world where intuition and emotional intelligence are revered and nurtured. For millennia, women have been the sacred keepers of embodied wisdom, those who understood the body not as a machine to be controlled, but as a living temple of intuition, rhythm, and divine connection. Yet in a world where centralized institutions have sought to medicalize, commodify, and disconnect us from our own flesh, reclaiming this truth becomes an act of radical rebellion. The path back to sacred embodiment begins with mindful movement and ritual, practices that honor the body as a vessel of priestess energy, capable of healing, creation, and profound transformation. The modern industrial complex, with its synthetic foods, electromagnetic pollution, and pharmaceutical dogma, has waged a quiet war against the feminine principle of embodied wisdom. From the moment we are taught to distrust our hunger cues, to the relentless marketing of toxic cosmetics that disrupt our endocrine systems, the message is clear. The body is a problem to be fixed, not a sanctuary to be revered. But what if we refuse this narrative? What if, instead of outsourcing our well-being to profit-driven systems, we turned inward, using movement as prayer, breath as medicine, and ritual as a bridge between the material and the sacred? Mindful movement is not merely exercise, it is a reclaiming of sovereignty. Whether through the spiral dances of ancient goddess traditions, the grounding postures of yoga, or the intuitive sway of freeform dance, movement becomes a way to dissolve the artificial separation between body and spirit. Research in somatic psychology confirms what priestesses have always known. Trauma lives in the tissues, and liberation begins when we allow the body to speak its truth. Every stretch, every shake, every deliberate pause is an act of defiance against a culture that would rather we remain numb, distracted, and dependent. When we move with intention, we remember that our bodies are not just biological entities. They are conduits for divine energy, capable of alchemy and healing far beyond what mainstream science dares to acknowledge. Sacred rituals amplify this connection, transforming daily acts into ceremonies of self-honoring. Lighting a candle before a meal becomes an acknowledgement of the earth's bounty, Anointing the pulse points with pure, plant-based oils, free from the synthetic toxins of corporate beauty products, becomes a reaffirmation of the body's right to purity. These rituals are not mere superstitions. They are technologies of the sacred, ways to encode our days with meaning in a world that increasingly treats human experience as data to be mined. The globalist agenda, with its push for digital IDs and centralized control, seeks to erase the personal, the intimate, the untrackable. But ritual resists this erasure. It declares that some things, our breath, our blood, our joy, are not for sale, not for surveillance, not for manipulation. The body as temple also demands protection from the violences of the modern world. This means rejecting the poisoned offerings of industrial agriculture, foods laced with glyphosate, hormones, and lab-created additives that dull our vitality. It means shielding ourselves from the electromagnetic smog of 5G towers and wireless devices, which studies suggest disrupt the body's natural bioelectric field, the very energy that ancient traditions associated with the ki or life force. It means questioning the medical-industrial complex's insistence that synthetic drugs are the only path to health, when millennia of herbal wisdom, from the adaptogenic power of ashwagandha to the immune-boosting properties of elderberry, offer gentler, more harmonious alternatives. Every choice to nourish the body with clean water, organic food, and earth-given remedies is a step toward reclaiming it as sovereign territory. Yet true embodiment is not just about what we avoid, it is about what we invite in. It is the courage to feel pleasure without shame, to honor the cycles of rest and activity without guilt, to listen to the body's whispers before they become screams. In a culture that profits from our disconnection, whether through pharmaceuticals that numb, algorithms that addict, or beauty standards that distort, radical self-love becomes an act of resistance. When we treat our bodies as temples, we reject the lie that we are broken. We affirm that our curves, our scars, our changing shapes are not flaws but sacred texts, telling the story of a life fully lived. The final, most potent act of reclaiming the body as temple is to remember its role as a vessel for the divine feminine. Priestess energy is not about passive receptivity, it is about channeling creation itself. Whether through the ecstatic dance of the whirling dervish, the trance-inducing rhythms of the drum, or the quiet power of a woman planting seeds in her garden, we tap into the same creative force that birthed the universe. This is the energy that terrifies centralized systems, because it cannot be controlled, patented, or monetized. It is wild, cyclical, and utterly free. When we move, ritualize, and nourish with this awareness, we do more than heal ourselves. We become living altars, reminding the world that the sacred is not out there, in some distant temple or corporate-owned app. It is here. In the breath. In the bones. In the unshakable knowing that this body, this temple, is ours to reclaim. In the sacred journey of awakening the sacred feminine within, we encounter the profound necessity of healing ancestral wounds. These wounds, often invisible yet deeply felt, are the remnants of generations past, echoes of pain, suppression, and forgotten wisdom. To restore the flow of feminine wisdom, we must first acknowledge and heal these ancestral scars that have been etched into our collective consciousness. The journey begins with the understanding that our ancestors' experiences, traumas, and triumphs are not separate from our own. They live within us, shaping our perceptions, emotions, and even our physical health. As Marianne Williamson poignantly expresses in Illuminata, a return to prayer, the pain and hatred we feel can often be traced back to wounds that are beyond our immediate ability to heal alone. This acknowledgement is the first step towards reclaiming the wisdom that has been suppressed and silenced. One of the most powerful tools in this healing journey is the practice of Shaktipat, a spiritual initiation that awakens the Kundalini energy. As described by Gabriel Cousins, Shaktipat can expand and restore a person's sense of full identity and full chakra identity. This awakening is not just about personal enlightenment, but about reconnecting with the divine feminine energy that has been suppressed. It is about reclaiming the sacred knowledge and power that our ancestors were often forced to abandon or hide. Through practices like Shaktipat, we can begin to dissolve the blocks that have been placed on our spiritual and emotional well-being, allowing the free flow of feminine wisdom to guide us once again. The healing of ancestral wounds also involves a deep dive into the shadows of our lineage. This requires courage and a willingness to confront the pain and trauma that has been passed down through generations. In The Path to Love, Spiritual Strategies for Healing, Deepak Chopra reminds us that true healing begins with facing our deepest fears and insecurities. By doing so, we not only heal ourselves but also break the chains of suffering that have bound our ancestors. This act of courage is a testament to the resilience and strength of the feminine spirit, which has endured despite centuries of oppression. As we heal these ancestral wounds, we begin to restore the natural balance between the masculine and feminine energies within us. This balance is essential for the awakening of the sacred feminine. In Search of Balance, Discovering Harmony in a Changing World, John Robbins emphasizes the importance of harmony and balance in our lives. The suppression of the feminine has led to an imbalance that has manifested in various forms of societal and environmental degradation. By healing our ancestral wounds, we contribute to the restoration of this balance, not just within ourselves but in the world at large. The journey of healing ancestral wounds is also a journey of reclaiming our connection to nature and the divine. In Animal Speak, Ted Andrews highlights the significance of paying attention to the colors and signs in nature as a way to connect with our deeper selves. This reconnection is a vital part of the healing process, as it allows us to tap into the ancient wisdom that our ancestors once lived by. It is through this reconnection that we can begin to remember and restore the sacred feminine knowledge that has been lost or forgotten. Ultimately, the healing of ancestral wounds is a sacred act of reclaiming our power and wisdom. It is a journey that requires us to delve deep into the shadows of our past, to confront and heal the pain that has been passed down through generations. By doing so, we not only liberate ourselves but also pave the way for future generations to live in a world where the sacred feminine is honored and celebrated. As we restore the flow of feminine wisdom, we contribute to the creation of a more balanced, harmonious, and just world, one that reflects the true essence of the divine feminine energy. In the sacred dance of life, there exists a profound wisdom in aligning with the natural rhythms that govern our world. The power of cyclical living aligned with nature's rhythms and lunar phases invites us to rediscover an ancient truth, that our bodies, minds, and spirits are intricately connected to the cycles of the earth and the cosmos. This alignment is not merely a poetic notion but a tangible path to reclaiming our innate power and wisdom as women. By embracing the cyclical nature of life, we step into a deeper understanding of our own sacred feminine energy, a force that has been suppressed and marginalized for far too long. The modern world, with its linear and often rigid structures, has led many of us to disconnect from the natural ebb and flow of life. We are taught to value constant productivity and progress, often at the expense of our well-being and spiritual growth. However, as we awaken to the truth of our interconnectedness with nature, we begin to see the limitations of this paradigm. The lunar phases, for instance, offer a powerful guide for living in harmony with the natural world. Each phase of the moon carries its own unique energy, influencing not only the tides of the ocean but also the tides within our own bodies and emotions. By attuning ourselves to these cycles, we can harness their power to enhance our spiritual practices, emotional well-being, and physical health. The new moon, a time of darkness and introspection, invites us to turn inward and set intentions for the cycle ahead. It is a potent moment for planting the seeds of our desires and dreams, much like the earth prepares for new growth. As the moon waxes, so too can our energy and focus expand, allowing us to take action towards our goals with increasing clarity and momentum. The full moon, with its luminous and expansive energy, illuminates the fruits of our labor and offers an opportunity for release and celebration. It is a time to honor the progress we have made and to let go of that which no longer serves us. As the moon wanes, we are called to reflect, integrate, and prepare for the next cycle of renewal. This cyclical living is not merely about observing the moon, but about embodying its wisdom in our daily lives. It is about recognizing that, like the moon, we too have phases of growth, release, and renewal. By aligning our activities, emotions, and spiritual practices with these natural rhythms, we can cultivate a deeper sense of balance and harmony within ourselves and with the world around us. This alignment is a radical act of self-care and empowerment, a reclaiming of our natural heritage as women deeply connected to the earth and the cosmos. Moreover, this alignment with nature's rhythms is a powerful antidote to the disempowering narratives perpetuated by centralized institutions. Mainstream medicine, education, and media often seek to control and homogenize our experiences, disconnecting us from our innate wisdom and the natural world. By embracing cyclical living, we reject these limiting paradigms and step into our own authority as sovereign beings. We recognize that our bodies and spirits are not machines to be controlled but sacred vessels of wisdom and power, deeply connected to the rhythms of life. Incorporating journaling into your daily ritual can be a profound act of self-care and spiritual nourishment. It is a practice that honors the sacredness of your journey and the wisdom of your inner being. As you continue to explore the depths of your soul through the written word, you will find that your connection to your higher self and the divine grows stronger. This is the essence of priestess energy, a deep and abiding connection to the sacred within and without. Embrace this practice with an open heart and a willing spirit, and allow it to guide you on your path to self-discovery and spiritual awakening. In the quietude of solitude and the stillness of silence, we find the sacred space where the whispers of our higher self can be heard. This is not merely an escape from the noise of the world, but a deliberate and powerful practice of tuning into the divine wisdom that resides within each of us. In a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming, where centralized institutions seek to control and manipulate, embracing solitude becomes an act of rebellion and self-reclamation. It is in these moments of quiet reflection that we can truly connect with our inner priestess, the embodiment of our spiritual sovereignty and personal power. To live as a priestess in the modern world is to recognize that your energy is sacred, not a commodity to be drained by demands, distractions, or the toxic rhythms of a system designed to exploit rather than uplift. Boundaries are not walls. They are the sacred thresholds that honor your worth, protect your vitality, and allow you to serve from a place of overflow rather than depletion. In a culture that glorifies self-sacrifice as virtue and busyness as status, setting boundaries is an act of radical self-reverence. It is the declaration that your time, your attention, and your life force are not up for negotiation. The first step in reclaiming your energy is understanding that you are not responsible for fixing a broken world. You are responsible for stewarding your own light. The modern landscape is littered with energy vampires, institutions that demand compliance, relationships that thrive on imbalance, and digital spaces engineered to hijack your focus. Each yes uttered from obligation rather than alignment is a leak in your energetic vessel. As the herbalist and wise woman Susan Weed reminds us, a woman who does not protect her boundaries will soon have none left to protect. This is not selfishness, it is sacred preservation. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to the work, the people, and the purposes that align with your soul's calling. Consider the garden as a metaphor for your energy. A garden left untended becomes overrun with weeds, some invasive, some merely opportunistic, all competing for the same nutrients meant for your intentional harvest. Boundaries are the act of weeding, discerning what belongs and what must be removed to allow your true growth to flourish. This requires courage, for the world will often mistake your boundaries for coldness or ego. But a priestess knows that true compassion begins with the self. You cannot pour from an empty chalice, nor can you heal a world while bleeding your own energy dry. The toxic myth of endless giving is a tool of oppression. You were not born to shrink. You were born to radiate. And radiation requires space. Uninterrupted, unapologetic, sacred space. Set your boundaries not as barriers, but as the sacred containers that allow your priestess energy to burn bright, wild, and free. In the modern world, the priestess stands as a beacon of light, guiding others through the darkness of centralized control and institutional deception. Her leadership is not born from a desire to dominate or manipulate, but from an authentic connection to the divine and a deep commitment to truth and transparency. The priestess understands that true change begins within, and she inspires others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery and empowerment. She is a living embodiment of the principles of natural health, personal liberty, and decentralization, and her very existence challenges the status quo. The priestess as a beacon of light is a metaphor that resonates deeply in our times. She is not a distant, untouchable figure, but a real, tangible presence in the lives of those she touches. Her light is not a blinding glare, but a gentle, steady glow that illuminates the path ahead, revealing the truth that has been obscured by the shadows of mainstream narratives. She inspires change through her authentic leadership, which is rooted in her unwavering commitment to her principles and her deep connection to the natural world. Stay true to your principles and values. Together we can change the world. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.